Thank you, Allison. Good afternoon. I'm Nicholas Johnston. I'm the publisher of Axios. Thanks you much for being here, joining us at Davos again this year. We're very grateful for all of our partners who helped make this possible. Big thanks to Qualcomm for hosting us here, and huge thanks to U.S. Steel for making this conversation possible. And so already up on stage with me is U.S. Steel's head of sustainability, Erica Chan, a second-time Axios guest. Good evening, afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Nick, and thanks for having us again. It's
welcome
really great to be
back.
here.
Let's start big picture. So there's so many 3 or 4 month old startups crammed into Davos, and then you look at U.S. Steel, very different pedigree and lineage. Give us a little sense of, from a big picture standpoint, like why this decarbonization conversation is important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I think you might know what we do because it's in our name, but just in case you don't, we manufacture steel primarily in the U.S. and Central Europe. And we also have iron ore mining in the U.S. as well, and we have research centers. So we've got about 20,000 people across 24 locations. And we were founded in 1901. So no, we're not a startup, but we do have the mentality of a startup, I think, the constant learning and innovating. And I've been here since 2022, so quite not the tenor of some of my colleagues, but in that time, I came from technology, so I used to work at Dell Technologies, so it was quite a learning curve to come from technology to steel. And there's so many fascinating things about steel that I think that people may not know. So for instance, steel is infinitely recyclable, and it's the #1 most recycled material in the world. So when it's recyclable, it's infinitely recyclable, but it doesn't degrade any of its properties, it still retains it. Also, just a fun fact for you here, I'm going to throw you a question, Nick. What 5 things do you own that have steel in them?
A car.
Yes.
I mean, this is a trick question. Oh, you're going to punk me here. A refrigerator. I think my dishwasher has it. We talked about this. I have a champagne saber. It's a very Davos answer, but I think that's best.
I think it depends where it was made, but yes, that could have steel in it.
I think that's 5.
All right, it's close enough. It's close enough. So steel basically is in almost everything, right? So whether you own a car or ride in an Uber, if you have a refrigerator or a dishwasher, washing machine, if you like to cook, there are kitchen appliances that have.
Okay, there you go. That's the other one.
That's the other one. Yeah, number five. Good old sand mixer.
I mean, let's get back to, I think, the ubiquity of it, but I want to take a little detour first and talk a little bit back to the sustainability issue here. Like, how do you track that? How do you measure that? Like, what are the metrics that you pay attention to?
Yeah. So I think the #1 metric that we have is that we have announced a 2050 goal. We did so a few years ago, and we were the first American steel company to set one. It's a Scope 1 and Scope 2 net zero goal by 2050. We also have an interim goal, which is to reduce our emissions by 20% by 2030. And we're well on track towards that goal. We achieved a 19.6 reduction so far. So we published that in our June 2024 report based on 2023 data. So that is our #1 goal right now, is to focus on decarbonization in addition to being a good steward of the planet and having environmental excellence as part of our strategy or business.
We talked about all the things that steel is in. So those are customers of yours who are buying that. What do you hear from your customers as far as this as a topic?
Yeah, so we hear often from our customers, right? Our customers have sustainability goals just like we do, right? Whether you're in the automotive industry or construction, there are varying degrees of, I think, ambition. We also see varying degrees of ambition according to geography as well. So in Europe, you see a lot more regulation driving some of the goals that people are setting, companies are setting. And in the US, we work with companies like GM who have their own ambitious goals to produce EVs, to lower their emissions and their footprint. And so because steel is such a large part of a car, we're a part of enabling that greener economy.
How does that work in the supply chain from as a form of collaboration? They're just not buying it off the shelf. They're probably talking to you as a supplier and trying to align those. I mean, how do you talk to your customers to make it a more holistic approach?
So we definitely bring customers in at the design stage, right?
Yeah.
Because depending on what their goals are. So for instance, if you are in the automotive industry and you want to lightweight for efficiency your cars, then we'll develop advanced high-strength steels for you as an automotive customer. And then for those who have EVs, we utilize non-grain oriented electrical steel. And so that actually helps provide greater range for electric vehicles. So It's really important, I think, that we focus on the fact that there is a future still with EVs. You've seen a lot of writing that there's all this, obituaries on EVs, but, we're still very optimistic about being able to provide automotive companies, the steel that they need. And in fact, about 60% of, 60% of appliances actually contain steel, but also with cars, it's over 50% of steel in cars.
And because it's such a big part, you bring them in as customers to, I guess, like fine tune the processes and their needs to hit those kinds of decarbonization goals. So take us a little bit, what was interesting, I thought Katie mentioned before, the Just Good Business acronym she had. How does that fit into your worldview, where you don't view ESG goals as separate from the operation of the business? Where do they intersect?
Yeah. No, it's very much a business imperative. In fact, I think I might steal that from her. I like the JGB acronym. Yes. And as we know, ESG is getting a little bit of flack, so maybe we'll just all call it JGB from now on. It's very much part of our strategy, right? Because we think about the market opportunity in a greener economy. We think about clean tech, right? Like solar. We think about electric vehicles. We think about also a more resilient supply chain and infrastructure. So all of that kind of comes together. And so when we work with our customers and how we integrate it into our longer term efforts and strategy, we start again at the beginning of the discussions with the customers, but then we also develop, customized steel. So a specific car, right, wants to have a certain property, then we work with them, and like in the appliance industry, for instance, we'll use like 25% recycled steel as a minimum, and the total weight of the 60% of steel in an appliance. So if you think about that, making sure that steel has a lower carbon footprint, making sure it can meet and enable a customer's sustainability goals is really important.
I mean, that carbon footprint goal is the flip side of the same coin on the bottom line goal then. So how does this continue? It's like what are the partnerships that are needed? How can folks in this room help contribute to that? What are you looking at over the horizon to keep this going?
Yeah. So absolutely. So for those of you in the room who are at startup stage and you have some really cool decarbonization technology that maybe has gone, I don't know, at 3 to 4 months, you probably haven't gone out of the lab stage, but we'll still talk to you, right? We're still open to evaluating. But those, who have, some funding, who've gone to maybe more larger scale, operational type, commercial scale, very interested in talking to you with technology specifically to decarbonize. And we actually have a partnership with Carbon Free. So they are a company that takes our emissions from a Gary Works facility. We announced a partnership that we're going to be starting with them. So they'll take the emissions and convert it into carbon neutral calcium carbonate. So for those of you who are not familiar with calcium carbonate, that can be used in a variety of applications, from paint to PVC plumbing, as well as food grade applications like pills. So the pharmaceutical industry can use that.
And then where's the role for policymakers here as a partner in this?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think that, the policies that we see in Europe are driving a lot of change, but also a lot of reporting for companies like ours. And then in addition, in the U.S., with the IRA, that really spurred a lot of investment.
It was a huge topic last year when we were here. Absolutely.
Exactly. Spurred a lot of investment both in maybe green hydrogen development as well as specific decarbonization for iron and steel.
All right, so as Allison mentioned, we like to end on one fun thing. You get the same question. You are a Davos sophomore. This is your second
That is
time.
Correct.
Did you learn any lessons last time to help you power through your return this week?
I did. The crampons are very, very important. But I think the second thing is that, I meet so many interesting people when I'm here, and I just really, really value and love the connections that I make that help me throughout the rest of the year and future conversations.
This is the most competitive meeting environment I've ever been in. Everybody wants to meet and talk, so live it up then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Erica, thank you so much for being here. Huge thanks to U.S. Steel for being with us again this year. I'm going to bring my colleague Allison back up to finish the conversation.